Do you ever feel stuck and can't find your way out of it? It's good that you're here today because that's what we are going to be talking about. This is Now Tell Us, and I'm your host, Anthony Murori. At Now Tell Us, we have guests come and tell us stories, they come and inspire us, they come and educate us on a subject, and always we have great guests come join us. Today, we have a great guest who is known as Alison Smith. She's going to be here shortly to tell us about how to get unstuck. And the title of her book is what we are going to be basing it on. Can't see the wood for the trees. It's actually a question. Can't see the wood for the trees? So I won't take much time because I know Alison will be here to tell us more about that. Please, before we go to meet Alison, I would ask you to please share this episode with all your friends. If you have a question, ask it. If you have a comment of any kind, we appreciate feedback. And so, whether you're seeing this live or whether you're seeing the recorded version, please don't hesitate to give us any feedback that you may have. And now, I would like you to join me as we go together to meet Alison for a great day, a great episode. Here we go. Hello, Alison.
Hello, Anthony. How are you?
I'm fine. Welcome to Now Tell Us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great. We are honored to have you here at our show today.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, just curious, where in the world are you?
I'm in Fife in Scotland, so if I look out of my office window, I can see Edinburgh across the Firth of Forth.
Oh, that's cool. And I know you love nature. Are there some things that you're seeing there that are inspiring that we could be thinking of and saying, "Hey, I want to be there."
Oh, well, the sea's very rough today.
Oh,
The river is rough, so it's quite, yeah. There's I think they call it here seahorses, the white waves.
yeah.
Um, but the bay that I'm in is very calm. So I
Okay.
suppose using the image that I can see out of the window as a metaphor, then when it's rough out in the sea, we need to find safe harbour until it's safer for us to go out, rather than thinking that let's go out there when it's all rough.
Yeah, that's good. Good. Enjoy yourself there. Now, our talk today is going to be based on one of your books, which is Can't See the Wood for the Trees, Landscaping Your Life to Get Back on Track. That's by Alison Smith. But before we go deeper, maybe you can please introduce yourself to us, tell us who is Alison, and then we'll get back there. And even before you go there, I would like to appreciate all the people who are watching. Hey, Dr. Mani, thank you. Hi, Farid, thank you for watching. We appreciate all of you. And yes, Dr. Mani says always great to tune into Anthony Morori's shows. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And we appreciate every guest that comes. And today we are appreciating Alison. Let's find out who is Alison.
Well, I started out in consultancy and procurement, buying things for organisations, and in the late 90s was really struggling to explain to business leaders why they should take supplier management sort of be of interest to them, really, because
Mm-hmm.
they were a bit bored. No, go away with your theory. And I realised that as soon as I started talking about gardening, certainly here in the UK, most people have either visited a garden, see a garden, have a plant pot, like a house plant, and everybody understands that Oh, but to have a nice garden, we need to mow it, to prune it, think about where plants go, water it, time in the greenhouse. And suddenly, when I said to these managers that weren't wanting to listen to me about managing suppliers, that their suppliers were like plants in a garden, they suddenly could sort of the little light bulbs went on.
Mm-hmm.
They went, oh, that's why we're having a problem with that supplier. That's why we're having a problem with that supplier. And so I think I then, so that's, 20, 25 years ago, realized the benefit of metaphor, that we can know nothing about something. And if we can apply what we know about a lot about something to it, suddenly we know a lot more about it. And then a few months later, I suddenly realized, oh, hang on a minute. It's not just gardening, landscapes can be used as metaphors. It's not just purchasing, because that would be a very small market. It's the whole of everybody's lives. And I suppose for the last 23 years, I've just spent all my time noticing how we can use nature as a metaphor for our lives, and particularly when we're stuck.
That's wonderful. Yeah, and I love that because I grew up somewhere that I was in close contact with nature. I was in a garden. I had some animals around me, and you cannot imagine how much nature can teach you. You getting into close proximity with nature and observing and l- taking a lesson every single day that you're there. So
Absolutely.
I am getting you when you say that, and you bring to the perspective that those people who have an experience with nature, which I believe all of us, if we may not have grown in the village, we may not have grown in on a ranch, but then we've seen trees grow, we've seen uh, home garden.
Yeah.
I mean, so we could have an idea of how to apply the lessons we learn there into our lives to make it better, and especially, as you say, to get unstuck when we feel stuck. That's wonderful. Now, we'll get deeper into that, but then I'm curious to know how this book came to be.
Well, I suppose having used nature as a, I've always wanted to write a book, and
Mm-hmm.
having used nature as a landscape for, as a metaphor for our lives, I'd sort of written numerous versions of this book, and it was sort of, oh, that doesn't work. That's not going to appeal to everybody. And then, so it took me about 15 years, I suppose, of using the process to realize, and not all of these idioms are worldwide in terms of, I'll tell you the idioms I've used because we use them here in the UK. Some of them will and won't be apply in different parts of the world. So in the UK, we say can't see the wood for the trees. Some
Mm-hmm.
parts of the world, you might say woods for the trees, and in others, you might say can't see the forest for the trees. But
Mm-hmm.
people still use that idiom to describe being stuck in the same way as I'm stuck in a rut, out on a limb, going round in circles, I've missed the tide. That we quite often will just throw an idiom into our language to help other people understand why we're stuck. It's as if we're using the language to say, I can't see the wood for the trees, I'm stuck, I don't know what to do. However, the contention of the book is, but you do know what to do, and the answer is hidden in the idiom that you're using. So if you can't see the wood for the trees, let's park the problem, let's park the situation, the drama, the story we're telling about the current situation. We're going to park that, we're going to send it on a coffee break, we're going to put that to one side, because going over and over that and over the details isn't currently enabling us to find a solution, because we're still stuck. So we're
Mm-hmm.
sending it away. We're saying, we'll come back to you, but we're just going to have a bit of creative play. And then if you resonate with can't see the wood for the trees, we might go out into a wood. I mean, I've taken a lot of people out into a wood to do this, but we can also do it in our imagination. That if anybody listening can think of a situation that they can't see the wood for the trees about, great, put that to one side. And now let's think about, what would we do in a real wood?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if I can't see the wood for the trees, well, I might go to a vantage point. I might follow a path out.
Mm,
I might focus on one tree. I might cut some trees down.
mm-hmm,
So when you start working with the metaphor, suddenly you go from I'm stuck, there are no solutions, to here's 15 different solutions. Could have a map. Oh, I
mm,
need a map. I haven't got a map. I need a guide. Um, so there's all these lovely, lovely metaphorical, I accept, solutions. And once we write those solutions down, then it's much easier for us to go down them and go, so which of those metaphorically relate to our real life situation?
mm,
And so I'm not saying 100%, but I would say it's over 50% of the people who can't see the wood for the trees. When I say, where do you, we'll be standing in a wood and I'll say, where do you want to be? Oh, the other side of the wood.
mm.
So why are you getting distracted by the wood? You see what I mean? It's that, oh. So quite often it's whatever's happening in our life at the moment is a distraction. We're worried about whether we're making the right decision or not. And yet when in a wood, when I say to people, where do you want to go? Everybody goes, oh, that direction. Yeah, I know where I want to go. So let's just follow the path out to go to that destination. Let's not worry. So it could be, why bother seeing the wood for the trees?
Mm. That's interesting. It happens that if I'm in the woods, then I have an idea of how to get out of there. And
Yeah,
when I'm stuck in life, sometimes we feel confused, sometimes we are stressed, some run into a depression, and some do some horrible things with themselves and with those or on those that they love, which is unfortunate. Now, thank you for bringing us to that position of being in the wood, but knowing where we are going to go and how to get out there. So now I see the idioms that you've mentioned are all listed on your book. Do you go into detail of each and every one of them? And yeah, first
yeah.
you can answer that.
The
Go into detail. Then. Yeah.
Yes. So
Mhm.
each chapter, I mean, it works on the same premise. It's like if you're stuck in a rut, go and stand in a rut. If you want to turn a corner, turn a corner. So yes, there's 7 or 8 idioms in the book where I share a story of somebody who has got out of the rut or seen the wood for the trees. So I share a story of how somebody has used this technique or the techniques. I'll then share a number of different ways of doing it because you might want to draw it, you might want to walk around in it, you might want to imagine it and make changes to it. So there's lots of different techniques in the book. But it's the same in my podcast because the podcast is just taking it to the next level
Mm-hmm.
because every episode takes a different idiom. So whereas in the book there's only 8 or 9 idioms,
Mm-hmm.
in the podcast, we're on episode, I don't know, 65, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And the majority of them have looked at, stuck between a rock and a hard place, uphill struggle, drawing a line, turning a corner at a crossroads. So I suppose the book was the springboard for me to go, okay, let's listen out for other idioms people use. And in the podcast, so it's a landscaping your life podcast, then I basically go out into nature, embody the saying, and then share what I notice at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So the treading water, which again is certainly UK based in terms of we're treading water, it's as if we're going on and on and on and not getting anywhere, and it's just wearing us out.
Mm-hmm.
So I go into the sea here in Scotland and I tread water, and I'm there with my selfie stick, trying to get the camera not wet,
Mm-hmm.
and just explore. Well, if you were treading water, what would you do?
You did.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's the thing. It's like people are always, as I say, somebody the other week came up with drawing a line in the sand. It's like, oh my God, yeah, let's go out and I'll explore that. And embodying it, we always learn so much more than if we just say it.
Mm. Yeah. moving, getting into action other than just thinking it out and trying to find ways out. Then you do it practically using a metaphor so that you translate that, you transfer that to your
Yeah.
subconscious that is going to drive you into the direction that you should be going.
Completely. I think that's the thing, that that the unconscious knows the answer anyway, and
Mm,
this and the log. I would suggest the logical brain is sort of keeping us stuck for whatever reason.
mm-hmm,
Our unconscious mind does know the answer, and talking metaphor bypasses logic. So it is an easier way of talking to our unconscious mind or inner wisdom or whatever we call it, to be able to go, oh, I see.
mm,
So the number of times somebody said, I need to turn a corner, and you're right, they've done it in their heads,
mm-hmm,
and then it doesn't happen in life. Whereas
yeah.
if you go and find a corner out in nature and turn it, people just look at me as if, but that was easy. Oh
Mm,
my God, isn't it better this side of the corner? And it's just that, oh, I've done it. I've done it there. Of course, I can now go back into the office or go back at home and turn the corner in whatever.
that's wonderful. Thank you very much. So, for you who's listening or watching, if you can't see the wood for the trees, then we are reminding you that maybe you need to be out there in the woods. You need to be out there trying to find your way out. And then what is actually happening in your life could be well learned by applying it using a metaphor. Not using a metaphor now this time, but applying that physically. Now, we didn't discuss this, but maybe could we get an example or an experience of your book? I mean, do you have it around you? Can I hear something from
I've
it?
got well, I've got it here.
Okay, wonderful. Let's hear
The
something from it.
I'll read you the bit from the can't see the wood for the trees chapter,
Okay.
because it shows you the speed with which somebody can shift their mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like me to read from it or just praise it? Because it's only a short story.
Okay, go ahead.
Jen rang one day in a panic. I just don't know what to do. It's all got too much for me, she said. Over the years, Jen had been introduced to many of the unconventional tools I use in coaching. This call was prompted by a feeling of escalating panic and an inner knowing that the calm she craves is often the other side of using one of these tools. The problem is, I need to feel better now. I don't have time for lots of thinking, pondering, or soul searching. Please help. At the time, I was writing the contents page of this book. I asked her to listen as I read out all the chapter headings and let me know which one best reflected how she was feeling. Can't see the wood for the trees, definitely, she replied. For the next few minutes, I asked her to describe the wood, trees she was imagining. As with any metaphorical explanation, some questions made more sense than others. When I asked her how many trees there were, she replied, it's like a forest, there's loads of them. The phrase isn't, can't see the forest for the trees. I was a little surprised to find myself saying, what happens if you make the forest into a wood? I asked. Oh, the trees change into beech trees, she replied, and then continued, oh my God, that's brilliant. I know what I've got to do. A mustache, thanks, and hung up. Now, all we did really
Mm-hmm.
is say to her, you're seeing the problem as a forest.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a wood. And as soon as she said that, it changed her inner representation, I suppose,
Mm-hmm.
of the tree, the number of trees into a wood. Then
Mm-hmm.
the trees changed because they went into beech trees. But just that change internally
Mm-hmm.
calmed her down, and she suddenly knew what to do. So this deadline that was, because she's got a deadline that was looming, it was lunchtime, 5 o'clock wasn't getting any further away, it was just getting nearer. So as soon as I'd calmed her down by asking that question, she was able to then access the part of it that did know what to do, and then she could crack on and do it.
Wow, that's beautiful. So wonderful. Now, you asked her to, as you were mentioning, an idiom, and she identifies with that. And I'm curious, in your coaching, is it the process that you take people through, that you read them some idioms and they identify one? Is it with all of them, or was this specific case?
Um, yes, I'm always tracking for people's language.
Mm,
So I will always hear something in their language that takes me down a particular route,
mm,
bizarrely. So quite often, somebody will say something, so it's oh, feels like an uphill struggle, or because I suppose if people are coming to me, then being at a crossroads, wanting to turn a corner, are quite often things people will use. What I might do then is just double check, because somebody the other week was at a said they were at a crossroads and they weren't really when we explored it. They weren't ready to make a decision. And when you're at a crossroads, you have to be able to make a decision. So
mm,
sometimes it's been very specific about your language. It's like,
mm,
oh, because we might say, oh, I'm at a crossroads and therefore we can't make a decision. But, well, because we can't see the wood for the trees and we needed to do that first. So I think there is something that sometimes our language, we use it haphazardly and we just have to be very careful
mm-hmm,
because if we were more clear and articulate about our language, then we'd actually know what to do. So,
mm,
so the easiest way of using it is somebody might say, "I'm searching for answers."
okay.
Now that's not a metaphor as such, but searching for answers might explain where they've never found a solution.
Mm-hmm,
So, and that's just one of those things where it's like you're searching. Yeah, well, you're going to continue to search forever because you haven't said you want to find an answer or find a solution.
mm,
So one client, I can't, I'm searching for answers, I can't find any. As soon as we started, I can't now remember what the words were, but I think it was you're going to find a solution. So we also changed the word answer to solution. But
mm-hmm,
as soon as she was finding a solution, two or three potential solutions came up. Whereas when she was searching for answers, she couldn't find any.
mm-hmm,
So I think what I am tracking for, the common denominator in coaching sessions with me is I'll be tracking people's language and I'll go, stop there. I notice you've just said X.
yeah.
Can we explore that either it's a metaphor or what do those words mean to you?
Mm,
And is a different set of words more meaningful? So it might be, so if I use another example about when I was writing a book, that I could have a goal if I want to write my book.
mm,
And it wasn't ever getting done, even though I really did, really wanted to write a book. But
mm-hmm,
as soon as you start adding in, I want to write I want to have a book published, and I want it to be, an inspirational self-development book. Oh, that other people read, and share with others. Then
mm,
suddenly the objective, oh, that's better. I did a 5-day mindset challenge
mm-hmm,
where I was thinking we were going to spend the 5 days sort of our first day would articulate the goal and then day 2 would do this, day 3 would do that. Actually, the whole 5 days was spent articulating a goal because what people realized was their goals were articulated in words that were not inspiring to them at all.
mm.
They were
Please.
just they were just using, oh well, that's what I should say. You know what I mean? There was lots of shoulds, musts, and oughts.
Yeah.
Even if they thought it was a stretching goal, the
Mm-hmm,
words they were using to describe the goal explained everything for them about why it wasn't happening
mm-hmm,
because it wasn't inspiring enough for them.
mm. Oh, okay. I get that. Now, in the answers, now since we identify these idioms that are what has made us stuck, the ones that are keeping us there because that's where what I'm going, that's the language I'm using. And then you tell us of ways to find our way out there is to have a goal, that is using the right words.
Mm.
Do you also have idioms that go with the answers or the goals that I want to set? And do you place them in those chapters?
No, but wouldn't that have been good if I had? There is a final chapter about going with the flow.
Mm,
But it is interesting that even if I start talking about people being stuck, some people don't like, I'm not stuck. I just don't know what to do.
mm,
So there is a whole preference about the words we use to describe our current situation, and the words we use to describe where we'd like to be.
mm,
And actually, by being aware of our reactions to both, it can enable us to sort of get from one to the other. So know that there is a chapter about going with the flow, which says if we are a water, then the flow takes us to the ocean.
mm,
So that metaphor would suggest at any crossroads, the question to ask is, am I headed for the ocean?
mm-hmm,
Because if the answer is no, you're not going in the way of water, because water goes mountain, stream, river, ocean.
mm,
And so that's the flow of water.
mm-hmm.
But no, I haven't really ever. I mean, because otherwise it would be see the wood for the trees. I mean, it is interesting, isn't it? If you
Yeah.
think about it, is that
Mm-hmm.
we don't have so many idioms about plain sailing.
That's unfortunate.
You
That's
see? But
unfortunate.
it's like we have more idioms that are
Yeah.
about being stuck and not knowing what to do
Mm-hmm.
than we do about, yeah,
Yeah, that's interesting.
knowing what to
I
do.
mean, it's interesting. I mean, we should be. That's why maybe most of us, or is it that we are more prone to describing our sorry state other than uh, declaring or affirming places that we need to be or states that we want to be at?
Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing is that metaphors are really good at conveying lots of information.
Mm,
So if when we're not stuck, we don't feel the need to share lots of information. It's just I'm happy. You
yes.
know I'm happy because you can see I'm happy. I've
Mm-hmm.
got a great job, and everybody goes, "Oh, she's got a great job, great." Oh, my book's working, and so we can sort of convey our satisfaction and understanding where we're at much
Mm,
more easily because it comes over in our body language, in our tonality, and there people go, yeah, okay, got you. You're in a good state. When somebody's stuck, I think the reason we use idioms is that it conveys more information. So rather than sit there for the next half an hour and have somebody tell us how bad everything is,
mm,
and I'm not saying there aren't times when that perhaps might be a great thing to do, but actually what we do is we save the person who's listening
mm.
having to listen to all that and say, oh, but I can't see the wood for the trees, because with that comes a whole load of information. And therefore, all right, she doesn't know what to do. And a bit confused, could be a bit overwhelmed. And so you can take a lot more information about that without the person having to say a whole load about it.
Oh, wow. Now, to you who's listening or watching, can't you or you can't see the wood for the trees? Yeah, go get the book because you find your way out of the wood. You find your way around the corner. You just get your way out of that stuck situation because Alison has been kind enough to share with us lessons and ideas and shows us how to get out of the forest into the place that we would like to be. Thank you very much, Alison.
Thank you. It's been great.
Yes, we are almost coming to the end of this show, but before we go, we would like you to leave us with some words that we should always remember. Which are the words that we should always remember?
That once we've planted the seeds, they need time to germinate. So we shouldn't be planting seeds and then going and prodding them, going, have you grown yet? Have you grown yet? So I think it's have patience. We've sown the seeds. There's a germination period required. So don't just keep, worrying that the seeds haven't taken. As long as you're nurturing them, you need to water them.
Wow. Yeah, plant the seeds, water them, take care of them, and be patient because it takes time, says Alison Smith. Wow, wow, this has been wonderful. We really thank you, Alison, for taking your time and being with us here at Now Tell Us.
I've enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Yes, I have also enjoyed it. I believe our viewers or listeners have also enjoyed it. Even those who are getting to listen to this or watch it after we are through, I want to believe that you enjoyed it. Please remember to go and get the book. And by the way, if people would want to connect with you or maybe find out more of what is it that you do, where should they go?
Landscaping Your Life will find me on most channels. Alison Smith, there's a lot of Alison Smiths in the world.
Mm,
Landscaping Your Life will find the book, the podcast, and then find me on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram, etc. So yeah, Landscaping Your Life.
wow, that's wonderful. Uh, and you also have a website, personal website, which is
Yes, yeah, alisonsmith.co. But yeah. Oh,
so
thank you.
alisonsmith.co. You can always go there and
I can.
there was a but we're gonna learn that in the future. What's the bad about? Go follow her and find out what's happening because I know she has some ideas of the future. Oh, maybe you could share what's in the future. What are you thinking? Is something big that we should expect from Alison?
Um, I'm using the next book's going to be using poetry and the metaphor and nature. So some of what the series 3 of the podcast's been about.
Wow, still in nature. Okay,
Yeah.
so we end the show today to go there out in the park. Oh, yeah, find out how we're gonna get unstuck from where we are. Remember to please go and connect with Alison. And yes, thank you. Also, our viewers, Andrew says, sure, the podcast has been great. Thank you very much, Andrew. We really appreciate your presence and your feedback. Thank you very much. And everyone else who's been watching or listening, who haven't said anything, we also appreciate you. Bye for now. Thank you, and bye for now. Until next time. Thank you, Alison.
Yeah.